Welcome to Simple Sales Podcast, where we break down the art of selling into easy, actionable steps. Each episode, we explore proven strategies, share real-life success stories, and tackle common challenges, all designed to boost your sales game. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, get ready to simplify your approach and maximize your results. Let's dive in.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk lately about these new buyer agent compensation rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some agents are a little, anxious about it.
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my income? But you know what? Let's flip that script a little bit.
Yeah.
What if this is actually a good thing? What if this is actually an opportunity?
Right.
Maybe even a game changer for some of you out there.
100%.
So today we're diving into this whole thing.
Okay.
Trying to understand how adapting to this new environment can actually make you stronger.
Absolutely.
Put you in a better position in the real estate world.
Yeah, I think at the heart of it, we're really looking at a pretty significant shift in the way that buyers agents are getting paid.
Yeah.
This is being driven in large part by that recent NAR settlement you probably heard about,
Sure.
and some pressure from the DOJ.
Yeah.
And really what it boils down to is this kind of push for greater transparency.
Right. And before we even get into this too far, we want to be clear, we are not legal experts.
Right.
We are not giving you legal advice.
We're not attorneys.
Right, we're not attorneys, but what we are going to do is unpack what this feels like on the ground level.
Yeah.
For the agents out there who are in the trenches
Yeah.
doing deals every single day.
Right.
And we're going to talk about some of the things that are working and some of the ways that we're seeing people leverage this new environment to their advantage.
Yeah. And, I think it makes sense that there was kind of this initial wave of concern, right?
Sure.
Like, oh, man, are we going to be losing commissions? Is this going to hurt my bottom line?
Right.
It's a natural first reaction when, things change like this.
Of course, yeah.
But
No,
here's the thing.
yeah.
This isn't really about losing out at all.
Yeah.
This is really an opportunity.
Yeah.
This is a moment to really step up and define and demonstrate the value that you bring to your clients.
Yeah. We're moving away from that system where it was all about, what's that co-op offer on the MLS? What's the seller's agent offering me? Right. Right. And historically, that was how buyers agents were compensated.
Right.
Right through that MLS co-op offer.
Yeah. And now it's shifting.
It's changing.
Yeah.
And so what's really interesting is the way that this puts the relationship
Right.
between the agent and the buyer front and center.
Yeah.
And the buyer agency agreement is becoming super important.
That's the contract.
Yeah.
Between the agent and the buyer.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's get into a real world scenario here.
Okay.
Let's say Agent Sally.
Right.
She's got a signed buyer agency agreement
Okay.
with her client. And let's say it's for 4%.
Right. 4% commission.
Okay. Now let's say in this transaction, the seller is agreeing to contribute 3% towards the buyer's closing costs.
Okay.
Now, often those funds can be used for the buyer agent's compensation.
Right. Right. Exactly. And this is where things get interesting because this creates two distinct paths
Yeah.
for Agent Sally.
Okay.
The first path is to have this super transparent conversation with the buyer up front and say, okay, we have this agreement.
I got a deal.
You're going to be responsible for the other 1%.
That makes sense.
At closing,
Okay.
So that's path number one.
Okay.
Just being totally upfront and honest and communicating clearly with your buyer.
That's clean.
Right. That emphasizes that direct value exchange between the buyer and the agent.
I like that.
Now, the second path is Agent Sally decides strategically, for whatever reason, that she's just going to accept that 3%
Right.
from the seller and call it a day.
Got it.
The buyer doesn't have to worry about anything.
Okay.
Now, that could be a strategic move,
Yeah.
especially in a competitive market,
Right.
just being flexible.
Okay.
So, but the point is that the agent now has options and control.
Yeah.
They have more direct control
Yeah.
over their compensation.
Okay.
It's not just dictated by some, standard co-op split in the MLS.
Right.
It's something that they can, discuss and negotiate
Yeah,
based on the value they provide to that specific client.
I like that.
When you think about it, for years and years, buyer's agent commissions have kind of been stuck in this 2 to 2.5% range.
Right.
But now with this ability to negotiate directly, 3-4%
Wow.
becomes a real possibility.
It's a big jump.
It is. But the key is you've got to be able to articulate that value.
You've got to be able to back it up.
Right. You've got to show them what you're worth.
Yeah. And that's really what this whole shift is about.
It's about communication.
Yeah. Communicating your value clearly and confidently.
More than ever.
This isn't just a good idea anymore.
No.
This is essential.
Essential to thrive.
If you want to win in this new world,
100%.
you've got to be able to communicate your value.
And it starts with that buyer consultation.
Yes.
And getting that signed buyer agency agreement early on.
That's your foundation.
That's the basis.
Right. But it's more than just the paperwork.
Absolutely.
You've got to educate your buyer
You have to educate them.
on everything you do,
Yeah.
because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes
There's so much
that they don't see.
I don't even know.
Right. It's like, the swan
Yeah.
gliding on the water.
His feet are paddling like crazy.
They don't see all the work.
Right.
You're coordinating showings
Right.
around their schedule.
Right.
You're diving deep into market data
Oh, yeah.
to help them make a good offer.
Right. Yeah.
You're negotiating,
Negotiation.
which can be a tough thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then you're managing inspections, you're managing repairs.
Yeah.
You're keeping this whole thing
The whole transaction
on track.
to finish.
And not to mention the time commitment.
Oh, my gosh.
Countless hours. You're on call.
And always available.
Right. And you're helping them through what's probably the biggest financial decision of their life.
It's a huge responsibility.
And you're taking on liability.
Absolutely.
So this is something that, buyers need to understand.
They do.
Like, what's the risk of not having me?
Yeah, what are you missing out on?
What are the pitfalls?
What mistakes could you make?
Right. And framing it in terms of, protecting their interests,
Right.
saving them time and money.
Potentially lots of money.
Right. And stress. That can be really powerful.
Huge.
We were talking to an agent the other day, and she said, she uses this phrase.
Okay.
She says, just like you'd hire a good attorney
Mm-hmm.
to review an important contract.
To make sure you're protected.
Right. That's my role here,
I love that.
to protect you in this transaction.
It's such a good analogy.
Yeah.
People get that.
And I think most buyers, when they understand everything that's going on,
When they really see it.
when they see the value,
Yeah.
they're happy to pay,
They are.
for good service.
They want to compensate you fairly.
So what are some practical things
Yeah, what are agents doing?
that agents are doing right now to really make this work?
Yeah, to maximize their income in this new environment.
What are the tactics?
What are the strategies? Well, one of the most effective things we're seeing is agents creating this really clear and compelling buyer presentation.
Okay.
This is not just some generic, like, here's my services thing.
Right.
This is a tailored presentation that articulates your unique value proposition.
It's to customize.
Customized for the client.
Okay.
And it's not enough to just say, oh, I'm really good at
You
this.
got to back it up
You've got to prove it.
with data.
With evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah, so showcase your past wins.
What have you done?
How much money did you save clients in negotiations?
Yeah.
How did you help them, close faster?
Right.
Were there problems in inspections that you caught that saved them a ton of money down the road?
Yeah, quantify it.
Quantify it. Show them the numbers.
That's powerful.
It is?
Another thing is practicing your scripts.
Oh, yeah.
Those conversations about compensation can be tough.
It's not always easy to talk about money.
No, it's not.
So practice those conversations. Get comfortable talking about your value and
Right.
what you charge. It is.
So if we had to boil it all down,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway?
I think the main message here is that these new rules are not a threat.
They're not.
They're not a threat to your success.
Okay.
They're actually a huge opportunity for you to step up and take control
Yeah.
of your value,
Of your business.
of your business, and ultimately of your income.
Right.
Your compensation isn't being taken away.
Okay.
The power to define and communicate your worth
Yeah.
about your role as an advocate for your buyer
Right.
and being totally transparent about your compensation.
Yeah. And that benefits everybody. Yeah. And a final thought for you
Okay.
as you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Take a look at your buyer consultation process.
Mm-hmm.
How are you communicating your value?
Yeah.
Could you do it better?
Where can you improve?
This new environment requires us to be more proactive
Absolutely.
and to really focus on articulating our expertise.
And the support you provide
Yeah. The support we provide to every buyer.
to every single client.
So think about that.
Think about it.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.